This is Dr. Yerushalmi Kilayim in the article Ozbar edition. I believe we are right at the top of Dafnun Aleph Amid Aleph. And we said yesterday that it's not a sugya, but it was a good, decent place to stop. The reference. Oh, and then the Vilna. Right? The Vilna on that level base. Sheish al Sheish is 5 lines before the Mishnah on base for Halacha Hey. So how many aser if you know Sheish al Sheish Osheva. Yesterday we talked about where the gaps between the trees are 4 or 5 amos. Now we're talking about where the gaps between trees are 6 and 7 amos. So that was a quote. That's a quote from the Mishnah, right? As the Mishnah said, it tells us Sheish al Sheish, al Sheish Sheish, al Sheba Sheba. Same because Sheish al Ruach Agulos Mamruba. So it's asers in a circle. Whoever falls into that 16-hour circle. So when it says Hadam say Rabbi Lezer, mi arba amos ad shmona amos aser mekadesh. From 4 amos until 8 amos, it's aser. And of course, it makes kilayim because it's also be a karam. Mishmar about sheish should say aser beina mekadesh. From 8 to 16, it's aser to plant there. It's I guess it's Xander Rabbanim, not to plant in that area. But an mekadesh doesn't have this is the rice involved. So it's kind of like it's not exactly, but kind of like an Abdullah thing. So the Mishnah goes 6, 7, but not 8, because presumably 8 would already be distant enough, although it could be 7.999, but 8 is already distant enough that it's not Mekadesh. In other words, it's still usher to plant unless you have the shear, which we spoke about earlier in the Masech, 16 by 16, Karachas Akerem. But even though it's usher to plant, nevertheless, it only is Mekadesh, it only makes Kilayim, which is also by Noah, within 8 amos. So 6, 7, and Ray stops by 8. Okay, let's do the next Mishnah. Somebody sees a vegetable in the vineyard. When I get there, I'll collect it. Mutter. So remember, we've said this many times. Let's reiterate it. Kilayim is a matter of Maras Hain. So, and therefore, until you see the kilayim in your field, it doesn't answer your field. So therefore, when he sees it, he sees it growing there. Yes, he has kind of like a grace period until shagil okatenu mutar. Okay, but she'echsa okatenu, but that means you have to make the go straight there, so to speak. In other words, it should be that you head in that direction. What if you didn't head in that direction? You headed you said, I'll leave it there when I come back. I'll get it. No. So then, of course, it doesn't come also right away because it has to grow in order to be climbed. It's not instantaneous. Mostly masayim also. If it grows 1.5%, 1/200th of its growth after you notice the kilayim, so then it asers. Then it's aser bana. Okay. It says Gemara. Rabbi Yossi B'Chinin Amar B'Poel Shanu. So the says the Pnei Moshe B'Poel Shanu Hatnam B'Omer Shagia Lo Katenim Mutar B'Poel Shoyse B'Melech Secher Mari. They came to Tar B'Melacha since he's Tar B'Melacha and he has to be Tar B'Melacha because he's working for the Baal Bais. Let's scare you in. Lo Mekin Yisad Somebody Yisad Shmei Elin Kein Shagia Lo V'Lo Akar Kilayim Yad. It's not called that he was, so to speak, lazy and just gave up on the climb unless he got there and didn't uproot the climb immediately when he got there. It was safer. And also Babais, if he's involved in his work, they gave him this as a poem. You don't get there when even though he's not responsible, he could take off the time because he's his own master. But they gave him time till he gets there. But he's not involved in some malachim when he sees the kilayim. He doesn't approve immediately. He's allowing kilayim to be sustained in his field. And if you didn't plant a kilayim, when you see kilayim, but it makes it kilayim in and of itself. Again, it grows 1.5 of its growth in the position of kilayim. Okay, so again, right, this man might have a pole showing. Also so kapol. They made him like a pole. Shakim Yurako saw that Bekerem. Bais, who was Mekayim, the Yurako saw that in the Kerem. In other words, he was Mekayim Kalayim. He didn't even plant it, just left it there and sustained it. Asurim ben lo ben acher. Thus, to him or anybody else, it's mamish Kalayim doraisa. Poel Shakim Yurako saw that Bekerem also lo mutachol adam. But if a poel sustained Yurakos in the field, it's also to him. And there's obviously a knas because it's not his. Right? So therefore, it's just because he should have taken care of it, we say it's also to him. But it's not also to the rest of the world because he's not the Bailim who has the ultimate responsibility. But Gemara does ask, wait a minute, Kasha, also lo also chol adam. Lo chol adam how can you make this distinction? Manavshach. Either it's mutter for everybody, it's also for everybody. How can it be mutter for everybody else and also for him? Ek Rabbi Shimon. So it's going to be Rabbi Shimon. Domer ein adam makdish davar she'eino shaloi. A person can't be makdish, something which is not his. That's true by kachim, but as well. But here it's even though it's true about kachim. But here obviously it means that's specifically about kilayim, because it says about kilayim in the Torah pentik dash hamlea mimenu. So Loshe Kodesh is worth we mentioned of Shimon Shkop's Hagdama where he dwells at some point, at some length, on the word Kodesh, meaning separated and designated. Something it doesn't necessarily mean for holiness. That word Loya Kodesh, Loya Kodesh, Lotia Kodesh. So those are not holy separations. So the word in the Torah is Kuf Daled Shin, Eno Makdish Rebbe Shin Lo. Modu Achar, but he can see it's here, Asr Lo. It's also for that person. And here it says, Ba'ole Katan Echad, which is a very strange language. But so the Gra and Reb Chaim changed the Girsa to B'Shaloktan Acher. And the Reb Chaim brings down two pshatim here. That means after that if the he says if the poel, he gives two pshatim. I'll read you both pshatim. He says that which says it's talking about when the poel saw him in the kerem and didn't collect them, and afterwards they added 200s. But about bias or somebody else, after they added 1.5%, so then the bias or somebody else saw them and actually uprooted them, removed them. In that case, even though it added 0.5%, it's still mutter. Okay, but for him, the poel it's usher. But if the poel, in this case, actually, it might be it might be mutter for the poel in this case because he says, but if the poel gathered them after it grew 200.5%, that's us to everybody, because he is at this point gathering for the Ba'abais, and this indicates that it's as if if he's the one who gathers, it's as if the Ba'abais is left in there, which is a very difficult shot. The second shot is more glatt. It says if the poel gathered them at the end for himself, so then I'm afraid that it's his. So if he gather, it means that Loktan Acher, right? Since he gathered, since another person, meaning the poel gathered it, so then it's usher for the it becomes usher for him, because he collected this, but part of his losasum shorbadisho, right? Type thing. So, but avim liket hu, but the Baal Bayis is located also bein lo bein kol adam. So that actually, wait. I'm sorry. The way Reb Chaim is learning it, the second shot, it says that it's about b'shalok tanacher. When somebody else is malakit it, it's either also for everybody or mutter for everybody, right? And that includes for Baal Bayis. Avim liket hu also bein lo bein kol adam. It's also for him. I'm getting confused here. Um, the So it's going on with Shimon, saying, uh, uh, going. Let's go back in line. Avagav Rabbi Shimon Amar Ein Adam Makdish Rabbi Sheino Shelo Mod Hacha She'asur Lo. So that's for the poil. B'Shaloktan Acher. That this difference between everybody else and the poil is when somebody else gathered it, not the poil himself, for himself. Even the poil himself gathered, but for the Baal Boss, he can't answer it. It's going to be also for him as a knas, but not for anybody else. But if a liket who, if he gathered the poil for himself, and Igloim Milsum afraid that this really was his portion, and it's not just a poil, I guess it's a chayker or it's, I'm not sure if the place is anyway, but let's just leave it poil, not getting confused. Also, ben lo ben chodim. It's also both for him and it's also for everybody else, because he's the one who gathered it. He's the one who was Mekayim initially. By the way, that the Rash Cirilio and the Maharal Fulda also changed gears here, like the Grand Reb Chaim. Pnei Moshe does not. And it's really Pnei Moshe. It will always stick, if at all possible, with the gears in the Gemara, even if he has to twist it a bit in order to make it work. There's something to that, but most Mepharshim Yerushalmi don't take that approach. It says the Gemara further, and we have this new section here. V'mosi masayim aser, quote from the Mishnah. The Beit Rabbeinu Mishani Bahaden Yarzuva. They used to use, in order to regulate this, they used to take a plant called the Yarzuva, which I don't think we're going to find a translation for here. Type of vegetable, and it's easy to tell if it added 200, 1 to 100. Let's see, article translation Yarzuva. I have the Hebrew article here, so it's not going to do me a good. 22, right? It seems like a Rashi in Sukkah. It's called chamtzitz in our day and age. According to Rab, it's a type of asparagus. Okay, so I guess it's whatever it is. It's easy to tell if it goes to 1/200. Okay, so buddy, how do you check it? Rabbi said, "Lokit echad." You gather one. Umeniach niach echad. The the Rambam and the Gra and Reb Chaim take out the second word echad. So okay, echad umeniach. Mashazeh poches zeh mosif. This it loses, this gains. So then that's one shot. That's the Rambam shot. I think it's easier to go with the Rash, which does not take out the word echad, and he says that you gather one of the Yarzuvin, and you leave one of the Yarzuvin planted, and that you look at how much the one which remained planted added relative to that one which you gathered. So that's how you reckon it. So even though it says shezeh poiches, which of course the other pshat which he gives you in the Rambam does take into account in his explanation. But so according to the Rash, which is a more simple explanation, you have to say that poiches means that which is static, right? What it's missing, right? It's not what it shrivels, what it's missing, and relative to where the other one continues to grow. Again, as I said, the Rambam throws the shriveling into the account. Okay, you should just know that the Rambam the relative talks about the shriveling being part of the cheshbon. Halachavav. However, became we were walking through the vineyard. The Naflim men Israel and seeds, which are grain, fell. Oshasim as volume of mine where they came out, lo and behold, with the fertilizer with water. Has a zorea b'siarto ruach lachorav. And this, of course, is inadvertent. You didn't deliberately plant kilayim. There was no deliberate tizor karma kilayim. You were planting, and the wind raised up some seeds and spilled them back into the vineyard behind you. Mutter. But what about that's because you didn't notice. What about stiartu ruach lefarav? It's in front of you. Kiva omer im asavim yufach. So now, if it grew into grass, so then you can still uproot the grasses by plowing, and then they're not going to grow anymore. And at that point, it seems that they're going to be mutter, both the vines and the grasses. Ima viv, if it started already making seeds, then those seeds are usher, and therefore, savim aviv pace. You should remove the seeds from the grasses, but it sounds like you still use the grasses. If they became full grain, not just like budding, but full grain, so then yidalek, everything has to be burnt. The entire stalk has to be burnt, and the vines, or the grapes, also going to be a problem. But right now we're focusing on the stalks of grain. That brings us to the bottom, Nun Alf and Beis Mamish at the bottom. The Gemara starts at Tav and Nun Beis and Alf. So we'll start tomorrow, the Gemara. Tomorrow is a long, I see in the article, it's a relatively long block by Yerushalmi standards. Okay, let's see how long it takes us.